our secret weapon, not just Hanover Township, but our entire group that works together side by side on many, many issues, is Tracy. And Tracy's title of her portion is Navigating the High School Years, Emotional Well-Being and Academic Pressure, and Mental Health Support for Students and How to Help. And Tracy, I just want to say, even before you begin, thank you, and thank you for everything you do 24 hours a day and for years that I know of. So thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Ace. And thank you all for being here. I've had the privilege of working, I guess I should turn my mic on. I've had the privilege of working with Hanover Park Schools for years, and they're wonderful. You know, they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. They really do care for their students, and I think that really showed by all the great programs that they offer. You know, not every school takes wellness into account like Hanover does. So I'm glad that they were able to tell you about all the great things that they're doing, and that really separates them from other schools in the county and even other counties as well. All right, I need my glasses, I can't see. I was like, Krista, it's not working. Oh no!
I'll give it up.
Okay, who just said that? Oh, look at this, I'm just pressing buttons. Where's Krista? Did she leave? Okay.
We have our police department here. We can find her pretty quick.
No, it's okay, I think we got, well, what button do I press?
There you go,
There you go.
You're good.
And then hit the top.
Yeah, that's what I did, I think.
You're good.
Okay, so, tonight we're following a theme, right? So we're really gonna be talking about how the stress of students comes home with them, and how not only as a school, a parent, an educator, but as a community, we could really help them. All right, Maria, what one is it? This one?
No, the top one.
Oh, geez. Oh. Okay, there we go. I thought that was the power button.
Yes, I know, I did too.
I think I need a stronger prescription. Okay, so high school is a period of, and anyone that I think has a high schooler or maybe even went to high school, did Mr. Kelly leave? I'm actually, oh, there you are. Sorry, I couldn't see you. I am a product of the 80s as well, so we didn't have cell phones or anything like that either. We still had some pressure, but I don't believe it's the same as what kids are under now. You know, I had my old neighbor, actually, I saw her from my bedroom window, like driving her kids a million places during the night. Like, they were on baseball, they were on rec baseball, they were on, I don't know, a million other kinds of baseball teams. So they were always going, and it's like, how do you have time to rest and reset? Okay, academic pressures. I know, oh, she left, I think, Lisa.
Yes.
So many students feel that they are consistently behind or never doing enough. You know, between coursework, exams, college admissions, extracurriculars, like I was saying, it's not just like baseball, high school baseball, it's rec baseball. I mean, my friend, her son is in middle school and he does rec hockey, and she just went to Florida, and before that she went to Buffalo. So it's like all over. So for some students, academic pressure becomes tied to self-worth. And I think we mentioned this earlier, one of the wonderful people from Hanover did, where grades feel, and I think the gentleman in the back, where grades really feel a measure of who they are, and not just what they've learned. And also too, stress really becomes a problem when there's no recovery and no support and no downtime to rest. You know, we've been talking about social media a lot, and they say on average, high schoolers spend around 5 hours a day on social media. And listen, like, sometimes I wake up at midnight and I'm like, oh, let me just scroll through my phone for a minute. So, you know, it's not just adolescents, but they have so much more pressure. It's so hard to shut down. So emotional and mental health challenges, stress, anxiety, common experience for all really high schoolers, you know, but many struggle quietly Often a fear of disappointing their parents, even teachers themselves, coaches. Some students don't even speak up because they don't want to be a burden. We see this a lot too when students are struggling with mental health issues. Maybe they don't want to tell a parent because they feel like, well, my parent already has enough to deal with. I don't want to just add something more onto their plate. So that could be another reason. They might not even know what's going on. So when I was in middle school, when I was in high school, sorry, it all blends together when you're my age, I was diagnosed with depression. And I remember I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I just don't feel like hanging out with my friends. I don't feel like talking on the phone. But I didn't know that was really depression. So sometimes young people may not know what's going on. They might be scared to ask for help. That's why a trusted adult is so important. And students youth could have more than one trusted adult. But it's so important to teach those parents, and I know this is spoken of earlier, about how to have those conversations, those honest conversations, and to really be open to what the youth in your life is saying. Okay, so students may experience all these that are up on the board here, but families might see something different. And I think sometimes it's hard, and we talk about this a lot, where typical adolescent behavior might look very similar to someone struggling with a mental health challenge. And that's where it becomes a little hard for, I think, parents. But some things to keep in mind: if you see the youth in your life not hanging out with their friends, maybe giving up the sport that they enjoy, that's when you want to be like, okay, there's something going on here. And let's be honest, youth have their ups and downs in their mood. I could actually say I have my ups and downs with my mood every day. But when you see a specific pattern of behavior, let's say that they're irritable, but maybe it's been 2 weeks and they're irritable and you notice that they haven't been hanging out with their friends. Okay, something more might be going on. Again, we all have our ups and downs in our moods, but when you see a constant change, that's when we want to have a conversation. And I think it's so important that when we do have that conversation, it's focusing on why that behavior is happening, because we're not going to get to the bottom of it if we don't ask why. If we just focus on, okay, well, you're coming home, you're angry all the time, and yelling at them. It's really getting to the core of what's going on. Social media, we spoke about, again, 5 hours a day. Youth, think about that. They go to school, what time do you get out for high school? 2:30?
2:45.
So 2:45, and they probably go to bed at 11. They have homework, they have sports, and within that time, they're spending 5 hours on their phone. So it's just a lot going on. And when you think about it, there's so much pressure on social media to look happy, to be happy, the number of likes. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I mean, I will be the first one to admit that I kind of look at how many likes I get too on social media. But it's that the fear of missing out too. So social media plays such a big role in our youth's lives. I didn't have social media. I didn't even have a phone. I'm pretty sure cell phones didn't exist till I was like 21. So it just plays such an important role in our life. And as parents, sometimes we might not understand that. But again, it goes to what Ace was saying, what we were all saying, it's about connection. And yes, social media there might be a lot of negatives around social media, but there is some positives when we talk about that connection and the ability to connect with people online, especially family members. Okay, signs adults often miss. Increased irritability. Change in sleep. I remember when I was in high school, I used to sleep till noon. I feel like all my friends slept till noon. But if the youth in your life is normally up at 8 o'clock and they're sleeping till noon, okay, well, what's going on there? Physical complaints, perfectionism, and that just really adds to the stress. And stress could be a risk factor for developing a mental health issue, which is so important. Another reason why it's so important to have conversations with your youth. And, you know, we say it all the time that we need to normalize the conversation in our house about mental health, about mental illness, because if we're not talking about it at home, why would the youth in our life feel okay to come to us if they're struggling with their mental health? So I think one thing that we could do is really open that communication at home. So, why these signs might be missed. You know, sometimes it's really hard to identify things that might be stressful. You know, if a student is feeling stressed, they might not show it. They might try to hide how they're feeling. You know, we do have that, like, I feel like mentality, that world. It's like, well, everyone's stressed. Who isn't stressed? We're all under stress. Kind of normalize it when it's not, it shouldn't be a normal part of our youth's lives. So challenges faced by families. You know, communication barrier. I think having open communication, listening. I always say this, I always put it in my presentations, but I didn't today because I was trying to change it up, is that I always say that when we listen to someone, we hear them into existence. If we just think about ourselves as adults and the busy schedules that we have and the time that we take to talk to someone, how that really, what that can mean to that person. And it can mean a lot. And let's think about how hard it is as adults to reach out for help. Like, I don't like it. I'd rather do 100 things at work than be like, can you help me with this? And think about for our youth to reach out and ask for help, especially when, you know, we have that mentality like, oh, you're being dramatic, it's not that bad. So it makes it even harder, and we have to learn how to support our youth in that and really listen to them when they come to us and not think that they're being dramatic. And I think I tell this story all the time too. I remember my first breakup when I was 16, that I thought I was never going to find anyone, that I was going to die alone. I told my mom, like, this was the person I was going to end up with. Now that we're not together, I'm definitely going to be alone and not find anyone else. And I was so depressed and I was crying all the time, and my mom really listened. She wasn't like, oh my God, really? You're 16, like, relax, chill out. So she really did listen to me. Recognizing signs of distress. That's why you're here, to recognize, to know what to look for, and to have those conversations. Balancing support and independence. As parents, I feel like we just want to fix things and not necessarily just listen, and I think listening is so important. Like, think about an instance where maybe you're at work, maybe you're on the phone talking to a friend, and you're just venting. You had a really bad day, and you're like, just letting it all go. And then the person you're talking to is like, you know what you should do? It's like, no, what should I do? Like, I just want to vent. Like, I don't want you to fix it. I don't want you to give me your suggestions. Like, I just want to talk about how I'm feeling. So why students don't ask for help? They feel like they're a burden. We see that a lot. Like I said, when people are struggling with their mental health, stigma, even though it's 2026, there's still so much stigma around mental health. That's why it's so important to start those conversations in our homes. Talking about mental health is not gonna, you know, make your child become depressed or diagnosed with anxiety. It actually allows them to have a conversation with you. They might not know where to go, and belief that they need to be in crisis, when sometimes they're coping just enough to not be in crisis, but it doesn't mean that they're not struggling. You know, access to mental health resources can be really tough. You know, between insurance and people's finances, transportation, we see this a lot. We work in Sussex County. You know, it's so hard to get somewhere. Maybe a youth comes from a single parent household and that parent works 2 jobs. They can't take them to therapy. So even when a youth might want help, sometimes it's hard to get the help for many reasons. What helps? Protective factors. Having one trusted adult in your life, in a youth's life, is one of the greatest protective factors. It really helps youth weather the storm. And they could have more than one protective factor. They could go to one person for one thing and maybe another person for another thing. But just having that trusted adult goes such a long way. It really helps students weather the storm. So how families can support their high schoolers. Listen, I feel like I've said that a million times. I'll probably say it at least 5 more times before this presentation ends. So if you get anything out of this, it's about listening, and listening non-judgmentally is so important. So encouraging help-seeking as a strength. Maintaining routines, boundaries. I think it's important that we also, what is the word that I'm looking for? I'll come back to that. It'll come to me. Model, see, it's up there. We model good behaviors for our youth. You know, maybe it's not having your cell phone at the dinner table. Maybe it's taking the time to actually have conversations. Small, consistent actions can have a significant impact. So showing consistent interest. If you're telling someone that they could come and talk to you anytime and you're not giving them the space to do that, are they going to come and talk to you? Giving someone your full attention, not being on your cell phone when they're trying to have a conversation. Again, let's think of it as an adult, how hard it is to talk to someone when we're struggling. Imagine being a youth. Imagine being in high school. Creating a safe place. I think that's also important, without pressure, without distractions. Staying calm, you know, even though it might be difficult to do so. You know, I've always said that I've heard that I haven't had a good poker face, or that I don't, but it's really important if someone in your life that's a youth comes to you, that you really take the time to not be judgmental, and letting your teen know that they are not a problem that needs to be solved. So what, you might say, okay, well, now that I know that I have to be supportive, well, what does that look like? So here's some things that you can say, which I think is so important, because sometimes even though we may know we need to do better, sometimes we don't know what to say. So something like, that sounds really overwhelming. I'm really glad you told me. Do you want help, or do you just want me to listen? I remember giving a presentation a long time ago, and I was saying something like, you know, I'm here to help you if you need me to. And I remember telling my mom, and she was like, well, you know, she's in her 80s, and she's like, if someone asked me for help, I'd be like, nah, I'm good. I'm never going to come to you if I need help. If you say something like support, like, that's a little bit different. If you ever need support, you could come to me. And sometimes it's just helping without actually being asked. I think that's a big thing too. I was mentioning my mom's age because she lives in a really great neighborhood, and she's out there shoveling by herself. And neighbors will just come by to help her. And, you know, if a neighbor was like, oh, do you need help? Can I come help you? She'd be like, no, I'm good. But the fact that they just did it, I think is wonderful. So I think just having that ability to just do something instead of asking, I think is also great. Okay, helping with academic stress without more pressure. I think it's focusing on the efforts, encouraging balance. Again, there's so much pressure with academics already. There's so much pressure that our youth put on themselves without having a parent add more pressure. And again, it's just offering support. And supporting emotional well-being at home, modeling healthy behavior, eating, talking about mental health, keeping expectations clear but flexible when stress is really high, I think is important. And you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. It's just showing up is so beneficial when we're talking about youth. And as you see here on the bottom, your presence and willingness to engage are powerful protective factors. We all play a role in helping our youth when it comes to stressors in life, whatever that looks like. And I actually wrote something down where I was like, wow, this is kind of really awesome. So sometimes, no, that's not what I wanted to say. Hold on. I highlighted it. So open conversations where students feel heard rather than fixed can reduce isolation and build resilience. And sometimes small actions, a check-in, a conversation, could really change a student's trajectory in life. So, that being said, we have a lot of resources here. I'm not going to go through all of them. You know, if you do have a youth, starting with their school counselor is a great place to start. And here's some other resources. And here's some local ones in Sussex County. Statewide, Second Floor is a great resource in New Jersey for youth. They actually have a wonderful app that's pretty new that parents can use as well. And youth can connect to different groups on this app too. And it's monitored by volunteers that are trained. Perform Care is usually one of the first entrances to the system of care in New Jersey. 988, great. You don't have to be suicidal. You just dial 988. If you're looking for some support, crisis text line, New Jersey 211. Here's some additional supports, the Morris County Community and Behavioral Health Services, Family Crisis Intervention, all these, and I'm sure the mayor will send these out. Here's my information. If you're looking for more, I know I kind of went through things a little quickly today because I know we're pressed for time. And I'm sure Krista, who's great, I don't know where she is, I probably can't see her. She will be sending this out, I'm sure, to anyone that registered. Any questions? Now, I'm really sorry, I probably just screamed in your ear for 20 minutes.
Very good.
There's Krista.
Oh, yeah. I said you'd probably be sending this out. Oh, yeah.
Tracy, we are going to be putting together a one-pager, and we are, in our video, going to have close-ups of all of our displays here, including and especially our phone numbers and our contact information. But before we conclude with you, I just want to say we've been working with you for a couple years now, and I want to thank you on behalf of thousands of people that you touch and that you help. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again right here on this recording. If you weren't here, we weren't doing this. You are very, very special, and thank you for everything you do.
Oh,
For
well,
real.
thank you. And I have to say that these have become my family. I've been doing this now for over 3 years, 4 years probably. So I love getting together with all of them. And, you know, they really are, I know that may sound cheesy, but they really are part of my family, part of the community that I work with. And I'm so fortunate to have met all of you and to work with all of you. It's really my pleasure. I feel like I'm the lucky one.
No, thank you. Thank you.